Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Seekers of the Lost Stuff. Before we dive into the next chapter of our hero's adventures, let's quickly remind ourselves who exactly is causing all this chaos. First up, we have Bronwyn the Unheard, a skilled wood elf ranger. Bronwyn is the last of her interconnected elven family and travels the realm seeking the culprits responsible for destroying her people. She is always on the lookout for rumors, and she joined the Museum of Unnatural Objects and Artifacts, the MUNOA, to earn the cash she needed to continue her vital search. Then there's Prick Dagger, the wandering wood elf bard. Prick is a bit of a scoundrel who used to lead the successful music group, the Strolling Tones, but he got into a bit of trouble after accruing gambling debts. Despite being bad at card games, he's a great storyteller, and he and his co-star, Virella Moondirge, are the main event in any town. Virella Moondirge, or Vera, is a tiefling bard who is abandoned by her parents. Vera was raised in the forest by an adoptive father. She is flighty, somewhat distracted soul who is skilled at performing and singing. Her devoted companion is Pudge Plodhammer, a mountain dwarf paladin who grew up within the dwarven nobility. Pudge is committed to Vera's safety and joined her travels, doing everything he can to keep her safe. Our resident rogue is Donduit Half-Assed, a Lightfoot halfling. Donduit grew up as a street urchin in High and Low Butte and became the unlikely friend of Prick Dagger after attempting to pick his pocket. He is incredibly inquisitive, but beneath his innocent demeanor is a dark side, and he's admitted to be more than willing to kill someone in their sleep in order to avoid a fair fight. Next is Professor Barnabas Slaterbug III, a halfling wizard. The professor is used to the comforts of academia. Serving as the professor for magical theory at the Pearl Tower, he was forced into this life of adventure with MUNOA to gain real-world experience. And he frequently whines and rambles about the unfairness of his situation. Traveling with the professor is Sister Hildegard, a high elf sister and dedicated cleric of Yandalia. Hildy is on a forced pilgrimage to find her ministry after struggling with the strictness of her interpretation of doctrine back at the convent. She begrudgingly assists the poor professor during their travels and pointedly approves of maintaining discipline. Now, with our motley crew introduced, let's see what troubles await them. As the first rays of dawn fall upon the new day, Bronwyn, the Unheard, and Donduit Half-Assed watch as Hugo Swift descend upon the high butte lifts, astride his donkey. Donduit returns to retrieve Prick Dagger and Virella Moondirge. Sister Hildegard rises in the commotion and wakes Professor Barnabas Slaterbug III, who is incredibly irritable at the seemingly non-stop interruptions. First, he's dragged out to this concert where he has to sell is a vendor stooge and sell these cape replicas because everybody's in love with Vera. He feels like his treatment has been indignant, and he even refers to his role as a vendor stooge during the music festival. He demands an opportunity to work on and read the mirror book more thoroughly. Hildy decides not to press the issue, and the group leaves him to his studies, and Pudge Plodhammer, the legendary sleeper that he is left undisturbed. No one wants to catch his battle hammer with their teeth. Bronwyn and Donduit, Vera, Prick, and Hildy sally forth alongside Hugo Swift on their next Museum of Unnatural Objects and Artifacts, MUNOA, mission. They have been forewarned to prepare themselves for a 3-day journey, so they set out of town on a familiar path, walking directly towards a cave from which they retrieved the Mirror of Dimensions. It seems everything is normal, and the wildlife is active in its usual pursuits. until about 3 hours into the walk, when they hear a deafening caw, caw, as if a desperate squawk off the path to the south. The group stops to investigate, which frustrates Hugo Swift. While Prick leads Donduit, Vera, and Hildy to the south of the road, Bronwyn quietly walks off the road to the north. And Hugo looks back and forth with increasingly irritable indignation astride his donkey. The group left Dilbert and Earl, the party's donkeys, standing on the path without anybody holding the reins. As they approach the source of the horrific racket of squawks, Prick whistles a magic spell so that he can speak with animals. They approach and see a large raven with a brutalized and ravaged wing. The raven squawks to Prick, "Thank God! Help me! Get me across the road! Quick!" Prick relays the messages onto the rest of the group, and Donduit attempts to splint the wing with makeshift supplies and fails, much to the dismay of the raven, who squawks his displeasure and nestles closely to Hildy as she scoops him up carefully. The raven continues to squawk about getting him across the road. "Get me across the road! Hide me! Hide him! Quickly!" until he suddenly goes silent. The party notices the sudden quiet, as it's not just the raven. Listening carefully, Hildy hears the accelerating thumping of paws pounding the grass. The raven makes a final plea. "Get me across the road now!" The raven nestles into Hildy, and as far as they can, trying to be small and unseen. Then the pack of wolves appears. 7 full-grown wolves come into view out of the tall grasses further off the trail. Vera, focusing inward, unleashes her inner thaumaturgical powers, startling and scattering the wolves significantly. Prick Dagger climbs up a nearby tree as quickly as he can, while the remaining group runs back towards the road, drawing weapons. Sister Hildegard is in a horrifying position. The wolves gather around her, gnashing and snapping at her. By some miracle of Yandala, her god, she is unscathed, but the pack is pressing in on her. Vera intercepts a second group of wolves with her booming voice, singing the Thunderwave tune. Hugo Swift, Dilbert, and Earl, the donkeys, startled by the Thunderwave spell, go charging into the north side of the road at full speed. Hildy, grasping her holy rosary, sears a wolf with the sacred flame spell, and with a handful of yelps and the smell of singed fur, the wolves keep pressing in on the poor nun. Donduit, drawing dual daggers, rushes to Sister Hildy's defense, slashing and stabbing at the nearest wolf with some effect, inflicting some deep wounds. Prick Dagger, seeing the danger Hildy is in, drops out of the tree and rushes to her defense. Grabbing his 2 daggers, he also slashes at the nearest wolf, with satisfying yelps filling the air. The wolves, though, continue their pressing attack, and Hildy is overwhelmed. Hugo Swift, holding on for dear life, goes thundering past Bronwyn in the forest. Hearing him coming, she tries to hide, but realizes she doesn't need to, as he can focus on nothing other than holding on to his donkey. At the same time, Hildy falls unconscious from the loss of blood and the numerous lacerating wounds. She spins about, dropping the raven, and the pack turns its attention to the other members. Vera dashes across the road, drawing her crossbow and firing off bolts, while Donduit scoops up the raven and dashes across the road. Bronwyn comes out of the forest on the other side of the road with longbow drawn and unleashes an arrow that misses as a shimmer of an incantation. Hail of thorns shimmers around her from her rabbit's foot. The wolves, led by a large alpha pointed out by Donduit, turn and surround Prick Dagger. Prick understands the wolf's aggression and for a moment hears them mention their desire to have their toy back as they surround and begin attacking him from all sides. Sister Hildegard's breathing seems to stabilize slightly, and Vera fires her crossbow into the pack, dealing a glancing blow to one of the wolves. Donduit drops his daggers and draws his short bow after setting the raven down gently. Prick, being surrounded, decides to leap over the alpha wolf, stabbing down with his daggers to vault away. It does not turn out as well as he hopes, though it's not a disaster. As he makes his leap, the alpha snaps at him, biting him deep in the calf, causing his thrusts to be mistimed, and he narrowly avoids falling prone to the ground. Bronwyn, seeing an opportunity, unleashes and kills two of the other wolves with the hail of thorns. Vera's shot with her crossbow ends up going wide, but Donduit's arrow finds its mark, killing another wolf. Prick, desperate, slashes with both daggers, striking the muzzle and then the throat as the animal raises its head to howl in pain. Its howl turns to a squealing gurgle as the animal crumples to the ground, bleeding out rapidly. With the alpha wolf dropping dead, the two remaining wolves turn to run away. Hugo Swift discovers the donkeys in the woods with him. He gets a very uneasy feeling in there, so he gathers them up and moves back to the road to rejoin the party as quickly as he can, or find out what's left of it. Varela Moondirge taps out a healing cadence and cures wounds, aiding Sister Hildegard. The group comes back together to determine how to move forward. Hugo Swift tries to urge them to quickly make their way down the road. They have a long journey ahead of them. Bronwyn ignores Hugo and attempts to set the wing of the raven. It is not a good job, but it is better. The party decides to keep going and sets off down the road. As they go, they start to realize just how different the two forests are that have grown up on either side along the road. On one side, the south side, the trees are younger or more middle growth. There is more open space and it's light and airy. It seems that all the expected sounds of the wilderness are coming from this side of the road. But the north side of the road seems dark and foreboding, like the trees themselves almost seem angry or misshapen, eerily silent. The group resigns itself to staying on the trail and rests for lunch, seeing a herd of about 20 to 30 deer before finally stopping to camp as the sun begins setting. They set up camp on the south side of the road, and the group gets a good night's sleep. Bronwyn takes first watch, and Prick volunteers to take a second. Hugo Swift sets up his tent, cooks and eats his rations, then lights up a small tube of carefully wrapped paper he refers to as halfling weed. He watches the rest of the group set up their camp and takes the opportunity to critique or comment whenever he can. Hugo tries to connect with Bronwyn and offers her a toke, which she tries. But to his dismay, she does not like the weed, and she is not interested in talking to him or being friendly. She even smacks him on the back of his head for offering, maybe in a bit of a pushy manner, her companionship and someone to talk to, too. So he finishes his halfling weed and turns in for the night, knowing his company is not wanted in any way, shape, or form. The next day, Hugo's breakfast is cooking before first light, and he wakes up most of the group. It smells delicious, and he offers none to any of them. He simply mounts up when he is done and waits patiently for them to eat or scavenge. He gets fidgety and he wants to leave, but he doesn't press the issue. The morning's travels are uneventful. The forest continues to be oddly split in two by the road. And about 2 hours after setting back out on the road, an awe-inspiring sight meets the players. 4 massive creatures and 1 smaller one. Living fossils. Ankylosaurus, a family pod of 2 fully grown adults, 2 adolescents, and a recent addition is grazing near the road. The group determines a stealthy approach is advisable, and they move off the road to the tree line on the north side. They nearly pass the dinosaurs when they hear a guttural scream that echoes through the woods coming from the south. The Ankylosaurus notices Bronwyn and adjusts their defensive alignment to face the party. As they move past the dinosaurs, Bronwyn notices some tracks of another pair of clearly predatory bipedal dinosaurs that are massive, have 3 toes, and very long claws. These predators seem to have passed across the road about 5 hours ago. The group keeps moving down the road, hoping they can avoid whatever danger those prints might bring. And this would end another session and adventure for the seekers of the lost stuff. Until next time.